Morning all. How are you? My name is Louise Eddington again. If you don't know me, Cosmic Owl Astrology, Wisdom Weaver, and Cyberpunk Priestess to the Stars. And before I dive in, a quick reminder that I have opened up registration for my newly designed membership community, which has a lot of really good benefits to it now that I've added, and I will be adding more. And what was the other thing I wanted to say? Sorry, I'm feeling a bit foggy. I've still got this virus I can't shake off, but also, yeah, it's kind of more of a mentorship community now where you will learn more astrology but also learn how to grow your practice or integrate some astrology into other modalities. We have healers in there. We have all kinds of super duper people in there, and it's really a kind of co-creative community about how can we co-create together a better world through the lens of astrology and healing. Anyway, other thing is I am also doing a 10K run for the food bank, and those people that donate at least $50 to my sponsorship, I'm going to put the links below, and then send me the receipt, will get a big discount off, 25% discount off the membership. If they join for 6 months minimum, that you pay monthly, you'll get 25% off that. If you want to join for a year, you get 25% off that, which is already a discounted anyway. So if you're interested in joining, consider doing that, or just donate, sponsor me for my food bank 10K. I've never done a 10K before. I'll be walking it, but anyway, I walk fast. The other thing is, I just have to tell you this, it's hilarious. The latest comment on the video that Kathy and I did yesterday is that the British accent is too much. So, sorry guys, sorry I have a British accent, and sorry I'm not putting on some fake personality to please people who can't listen to a British accent. What? Honestly, people, Jesus. Okay, so we're doing the week ahead video here for the 9th to the 15th, okay, of November. As usual, I've pulled some cards and we'll look at them in detail at the end. But this is the first card, the God of Discs, and I'm leaving it reversed. I don't always. Then the Labyrinth, and then the Four of Cups. So if you understand tarot, you're probably getting a bit of a vibe for the week already. And then I also pulled this card from the Witch Oracle deck by Angie Sullins, the She of the Invisible Ally. And I've pulled this card like 3 or 4 times this week. So it wants to be heard, and that figures as well for the energies. But we'll kind of look at what the book says, and what the cards mean in these decks. So the first deck is the Red Threads Tarot by Linda Hill on Etsy in the UK, and then the Witch Oracle deck. All right, let's get the chart up and dive in. And also, I would like to just make one apology for the video that Kathy and I did, is that when we looked at the New York unification chart, when she read the details out to me, I typed in 1989 instead of 1889, I think, or the other way, 1898. Anyway, it didn't, the angles were the same. So most things we said were just the same. In fact, there was only one small thing I think I mentioned that was not the same, but Kathy kind of did an update with the correct chart just to make sure that you got the right information. So apologies for that. As I said, still got this lingering thing. It's kind of weird, this virus. Maybe didn't help that I went to the doctor's earlier this week just for a checkup, and I had my flu and COVID shots at the same day. And perhaps I should not have done it while I was still recovering from the virus, but hey, it'll go. I will be fine. So I'm going to apologise also in advance for any fogginess and mistakes that I make. So here we are, tomorrow, Sunday, November the 9th. I'm just going to change the time a bit to start the day, to show you where we start the week tomorrow. So the moon is in Cancer at the start of the week in its own sign, and that means the moon is way out of bounds again, because we're still at this lunar maximum standstill all this year. It was peak back in March, but all these, every time the moon goes out of bounds in this area of the chart, or in the opposite side, it's going way out of bounds. So that's adding to the general out of bounds energy. A reminder that also Mercury is out of bounds. I don't think I've mentioned that yet. So Mercury is also out of bounds, and Pluto is still out of bounds, though Pluto is on its way back down to the ecliptic. Apparently, I'm still trying to get her on my podcast. I must try and follow up with her. I sent her an email as she asked me to, and I didn't get a response. It's kind of like weird. But anyway, she's awesome, but I think she's just not very connected to email and things. So Rosie Finn, in her book Persephone's Revolution, which is about this Pluto out of bounds, apparently she has said that the dates in the book are a little bit off because she used the wrong minute for out of bounds. I want to ask her about that. She's talked about it somewhere in an interview, and I don't know which one. So anyway, I will look at it as we do these forecasts. But what this means is that 3 planets out of bounds means that things are extra kind of out of the norm, erratic, just adding to all the energy that just seems crazy right now, right? Everything seems intense and crazy to my mind. So what else do we do? So so we're on the 9th, and so Venus is now in Scorpio. Okay, my sign. I'm about to have my Venus return, and I've just realized I've got to add back in some of my extras, because I take them out for our political ones, because it just gets a bit much sometimes, but I like to use them in this, and I know that most of you that follow these videos like to learn about some of these extras. So I'm just gonna add some of them back in. How Maya I want, and Hecate, I think. Yeah, that works. Okay, so here we are. So we start the week as well. Venus has just moved into Scorpio. She's also heading towards disappearing from our view behind the sun for an awfully long time. She's not there yet. It's officially when she gets to 10 degrees from the sun, but it will depend for you where you are in the world and what you have on your eastern horizon. I have big mountains to the east of me, so she's pretty much gone already. So unless I climb up the mountains. So, but anyway, Venus is there and will conjunct Haumea after she squared Pluto before this week. And Pluto and Haumea are in this decade-long square, right, till 2028. Bringing rebirth and regeneration and death of the old. I did write an article on it on my Substack that I keep meaning to update, but it's aspect of the decade, I called it, but maybe I should have changed the title. But anyway, I haven't had time to update it. But Venus is also, as she approaches the conjunction with Haumea, making a quincunx, an aspect of adjustment to Ceres over here. And Ceres is about to enter the second degree, 2 degrees Aries, and where she will station direct. But this is also the point of the current Venus star point from the retrograde we had earlier this year, where Venus and the Sun met on March the 22nd. Okay, her retrograde star point, and that is extremely significant. I'm probably going to do a whole other video for that as we prepare for Venus's journey behind the Sun from our perspective, where she will approach her superior conjunction with the Sun. So anyway, that's big change. And that's not the only change happening right at the start of this week, because tomorrow, November the 9th, at 2:01 p.m. Eastern, Mercury stations retrograde at 6 degrees 51 minutes of Sagittarius. And I am a normally like a don't sweat Mercury retrograde person. But I will say, because of everything else that's happening, I think this one could be a bit challenging. I'm already finding it challenging, typing in wrong dates, things like that, getting weird comments, weird communication, because Mercury's out of bounds as well, remember? Okay, so the also on the 9th, the Sun over here will square off to Spinner of Grace Chariclo. This is a closing square. This is the end of a cycle. I'm not going to look when it began, but Chariclo is there holding space for us to weave a new story. Okay, and she's been doing this for a long time. And the Sun in Scorpio is looking deep into the shadows. It's like, how can we co-create this new future from all the shadows that have been emerging in our personal lives and in our collective consciousness? Okay. All right. And lastly, the Cancer moon will trine the Sun as well as the moon starts to wane towards the next new moon. Okay, so it's not a major important aspect, except that when the moon trines the Sun, it starts to activate this ongoing water grand trine that we've had, because the Sun is also moving towards tightening up that water grand trine again that's been so powerful lately. More on that later. On to the 10th. And not quite as big a day, but we're getting there. The moon is still in Cancer. The moon will square off to Chiron and Eris. Told you Mercury's out of bounds and stationing on my Mars too, by the way. So anyway, so the moon, will square Chiron and Eris, activating that kind of like shake up, let's change things energy, because then the moon will conjunct Jupiter as well, which is also about to station retrograde. So Jupiter's at a standstill. So really this square is worth mentioning, because this is going to give us a big impetus to go back over things and make some big changes. Okay. And the moon will also trine Saturn at the same time, and then Neptune. So, it's a big day, kind of in a lunar sense. So we may kind of have a lot of emotion rising up about how out of control everything feels and about the changes we need to make. And really those emotions are coming to the fore, so we can look at what we need to review during the retrogrades. Okay, so then the moon will move into Leo for a couple of days and will, oppose Pluto, will square Haumea, will make aspects to all the things that are at early degrees of signs. But that it does it every month, so I'm not going to mention that one in full. On to the 11th, moon is, you can see, is in Leo. And the only lunar aspect I'm going to make is that the moon will trine at Mercury. Mercury's already moving. Mercury retrogrades pretty fast for about 3 weeks. That's why it always feels more erratic. And Mercury is still out of bounds, but is heading back to the ecliptic. So, but it's still way out of bounds. And so, things are still very erratic. So, um, I'm just looking if Pluto's moved. No. Oh, Hygeia is pretty out of bounds too, but asteroids, I don't think we count as much really with the out of bounds. But the moon trine to Mercury is emphasizing the redo, the review, the reflection, all the rewords. And in Sagittarius, this Mercury retrograde is really about what's true, our beliefs, and where we want to go after the retrograde. So, and then on the 11th, Jupiter stations retrograde. So at this degree 2509, which is actually to the minute the same degree and minute that Saturn will station direct at in a little bit at 2509 Pisces in a trine aspect to this. So they're already kind of speaking to each other. Now then, Jupiter and Neptune have this, and Saturn met at 0 Aquarius back at the end of 2020 on the winter solstice, on the December solstice, let's call it, for the hemispheres. And this is a hot degree, so this is activating things that really began with that great mutation conjunction at 0 Aquarius back then. So things are going to start turning around both ways. Jupiter going retrograde, Saturn will go direct. So just kind of saying. Okay, on to November the 12th. November the 12th, we start the day with the last quarter moon in Leo and Scorpio, and that's exactly at 20 degrees Leo Scorpio. Now that one is activating the Venus star point, retrograde star point, that was at 20 Leo on August the 13th, 2023. Venus star points act like a point that gets activated when things transit over it again. Now, the last quarter moon is not the biggest transit, I know, but in the current energy, I think it's really worth mentioning. Okay, because something again is coming back from way back then, since the pandemic started, all things like that. We're kind of addressing things that have come up since then. And I'm not going to talk about what's come up because I think collectively we kind of know. But for you personally, you can look back as well. Okay. Also on November the 12th, Venus and Black Moon Lilith start speaking to each other. I use the true calculation of Black Moon Lilith, which is called the osculating calculation, which means she moves wildly back and forth. So Venus and Black Moon Lilith are going to speak to each other quite a lot in Scorpio. Now, to my mind, this means with Black Moon Lilith kind of being the wild elemental self, the original wife of Adam in the myth, if you like, the original divine feminine, created from the same dirt, okay, before she would not submit. This is the patriarchal myth, of course. And Venus is kind of the Eve in some ways, but she was also subversive. Venus has a little dark side. But anyway, these two speaking together in Scorpio is going to be really interesting, because we've got the Epstein file thing is not going away. I've just finished reading or listening to Virginia Giuffre's book, Nobody's Girl. Oh, just, it's so, I kind of felt I owed it to her to listen. And whilst her personal details and what Epstein did are also absolutely terrible. It also brings up a lot about the culture of what these men mostly, but also some women do to young people, young women and young boys sometimes, because of this power over paradigm that we are coming out of. So I think it needs to be revealed, all the things about this, and that's Scorpio, this manipulation, this power over, and being disempowered and taking back our own power. Okay. So that's, even though that's a quite brief aspect on the 12th, really, this is going to be a bit of an ongoing story while Venus goes through Scorpio. And it's going to be interesting when Mercury goes back into Scorpio and the new moon on the 21st conjunct Mercury. There's a Mercury cazimi on the new moon. And I kind of feel like this is names or files could start coming out at least at that point, or there could be more shout for this to come out. Speaking of Mercury, Mercury and Mars will meet again on the 12th at 6 degrees Sagittarius, and that's a drive to bring out the truth in many ways, to reflect, review, or go back over, or say start shouting again to bring out the files. Okay, finally on the 12th, the moon will move into the sign of Virgo for a couple of days. Okay, and things will take a more kind of industrious, let's do the right work kind of energy. So again, please sponsor me for my 10K for the food bank, because I don't think the shutdown's ending anytime soon. I kind of actually really in my core believe that this is a deliberate and conscious act by our apparent government, and they've kind of put the people and the Democrats between a rock and a hard place, because it's either food or health. They're kind of pitting people's food or people's health against each other. So I thought I'd do a 10K for the food bank and donate to the food bank to kind of help people through this time. Seems like one thing I can really do that's practical, talking about that. And adding to, so on to the 13th. And I just want to check the out of bounds. Of course, the moon has quickly gone back in bounds. 20. Mercury, I think, is back in bounds on by then. So I'll check that. But things might start to settle in. Mercury has now been retrograde for a few days. The middle of the retrograde, it's the times around the stations, retrograde and direct, that tend to be the wonkiest. And things like, might settle into like going within, starting to reflect, review. At this point, still in Sagittarius, so still speaking about, belief and truth mostly. Okay, so 13th as well. Black Moon Lilith, mentioning her again. She's still in orbit with Venus, and she's now at perihelion. So she is, very kind of close to Earth as well now. So the point, she's, she's not a physical body, but anyway. Nothing else much on the 5th. The moon's over here in Virgo will square all this Sagittarius stuff. That's very changeable. We can feel the changes coming. We kind of maybe start reflecting on the changes. And then onto the 14th, the Friday, the moon will reach the South Node, its own South Node, kind of really working on what we are releasing and purging in our lives as the sun starts to really tighten up this water grand trine again. So On to 14th. Oh, Venus again on the 14th. Venus will make an aspect to Centaur Pholus in Capricorn. Remember what we're talking about, and this Pholus is revealing kind of the corruption and and the things that are wrong. We're kind of doing an inventory about our structures, about the man-made laws and rules, and about our own elder wisdom as well. We're kind of doing a lot of reflection about that as well. But it's also the structures of our own lives to a degree as well. And where we've kind of had blocks perhaps or boundaries around, oh, I didn't see that that wasn't working before, and now I see it's not working. Okay. Also on the 14th, Neptune and Vesta will square off at that anaretic degree. Remember that Neptune is not moving off the anaretic last degree of the whole zodiac and for its whole journey back into Pisces. And so this is a real endings and beginnings, and Vesta is the state, the hearth, but also our inner flame. Pisces and Sagittarius both are to do with faith, belief, and trust, and all those kind of things, and exploration of what we believe in and truth. You can see a bit of a little bit of a theme here, and for you personally, with Vesta being your inner flame, this is getting deeply in touch with your faith and what you need to let go of. Venus and Black Moon Lilith meet again on the 14th, so you know I talked about that. And the Sun, after its meeting with its own South Node, will make its last major Ptolemaic aspect to the Sun as we start to move towards the next new moon. But you know, if you ask Rick Levine, there are no major or minor aspects. So that's why I stress it's the Ptolemaic ones. And so the moon will move into the sign of Libra on the 15th. This is the last day of the week that we're looking at. The moon will move into Libra for a couple of days and will really start to, you know, feel that waning, that balsamic phase, that shedding, that letting go. But at the same time, pretty much, as the moon moves into Libra, Vesta will move into the sign of Capricorn, the structures of our lives. Okay, so remember, inner flame. And Venus, again, on the 15th, trotting along pretty much with Black Moon Lilith all the time. You know, look at them. They keep just trotting along, even if the aspects are not exact. Venus will square off to Pallas Athena, the strategic pattern seer, kind of seer into rabbit holes, wise justice, kind of steely eyes, is looking at the world and going, this is not right for people, for humanity. How can we look at all these patterns and start to create something better? And eventually Venus is going to catch up to Pallas Athena, and they're going to work together to co-create this future as well. And the last few aspects on the 15th, no, I think that's it. Onto the cards. So let me get my book. And again, a reminder, please, to like, subscribe, leave me a comment, but also please check out my membership if you're at all interested, and the sponsorship option to get a discount, which will be greater than the minimum $50 donation. I've only got 10 spots. Registrations only open to November the 15th. And the discount is 25%, which is more than the $50 donation. And I've only got 10 spots. 4 have already gone. So, okay, God of Discs. All right. So this is Dionysus. I love this deck because it's the story of Ariadne and Dionysus. You can go and look at the myth if you like, but this is Okay, so what was I used this deck for my last Venus retrograde because the story of how that retrograde was working just called me to talk about Ariadne and Dionysus, and that their asteroids were actually involved in the retrograde. This is what I do in my in my Venus retrograde course. Each one is different, and the next one is next October, so ages away. But something will speak to me about that one, um, and so this is the deck that spoke to me for that one to use for that. And it keeps speaking to me. But anyway, in this deck, this god of discs, which is, the earth um, energy, is I am regeneration. And what I like to do is read the quotes really as well, or a couple of them that come in this book, because the person, and Linda Hill, that creates this deck, she explores the whole myth in great depth to write the book to go with the cards, and I think that's why I love them. But anyway, so in nature, nothing is perfect and everything is perfect. Trees can be contorted, bent in weird ways, and they're still beautiful. That's Alice Walker. Love her. So, this is about Mother Nature, it's about you, but this is about going within and going, because especially because it's reversed. This is about going within into your own deepest nature and regenerating your perhaps belief in yourself, and giving up this striving to be some ideal of perfection, and knowing that we're all imperfectly imperfect. But I'm going to also read the quote here from Jung. Whenever we touch nature, we get clean. People who have got dirty through too much civilization, take a walk in the woods or a bath in the sea. Entering the unconscious, entering yourself through dreams, is touching nature from the inside. This is the same thing. Things are put right again. And that really figures with these two, with Mercury and Jupiter, both stationing retrograde and the waning moon. The next card I pulled has a similar vibe, really. So, 10. This is number 10. Oh, I'm not thinking straight, so I'm sorry. But this is the pathways of the soul, the labyrinth, which is why I call my new membership the Spiral Codex. This is going into the pathway of the soul, or learning how to go into the pathway of the soul. Anyway, back to the labyrinth where we either are found or lose ourselves forever. A red map, and that was W.H. Auden. A red map isn't easy to follow. Any document made of blood and bones is tricky. Wrong turns are easily made, and there are often piles of stones in the road. A person has to disregard time and sorrow and all the damage done. If you follow, if you dare, the thread always leads to whomever or whatever you've forgotten. Alice Hoffman. That's the soul journey into the inner depth of the soul as well. So I think we're getting a bit of a theme again here. Last card, tarot card, is the Four of Cups, and that's I am retreating. So another sign this week, really about going within. Okay. Maybe that's why I find it so difficult to speak right now, apparently, and think. Anyway, then the card, the card that just keeps coming up. So it's number 7. You think it would open right there, because I've seen it so many times. She of the invisible ally. There are unseen forces guiding you right now. They rarely let themselves be seen, but that doesn't mean they're not there. While it's true that you often name and number your resources, you often forget about the unseen ones. The invisibles are available to you always, but they tend to dwell in the higher places, energies of wonder and awe, curiosity and hope. Petition them. A witch, woman in total control of herself, will reach into those energies and swim with them through the cosmos. This is a good time for dreaming and journeying. Take a walk in nature. Seek out a credible plant shaman who can help you access the gifts of the green world. Spend some time in the liminal realm with active imagination in the tradition of archetypal psychology or shamanic journey work for aeons, as initiated by Carl Jung. Put yourself in the way of magic. Helpful spirits are ready to guide you. And now is the time to summon them to show themselves. Much love to you. Mwah. Oh, I just want to, I did think of something. That's, oh, sorry. One last thing. I just kind of wanted to show you the chart again and tune you into where we end the week. So really this is set to kind of midnight. So we end the week with, look at this, that water grand trine is really kicking back in, but this time it's got the string to it with Uranus moved back into Taurus already and approaching an opposition with the sun. This is another big activation of major purging, but this is often, some of it is going to be quite sudden, things giving way, purge, purge. So I'm not going to go into all the details, but I just wanted you to see this water blue triangle and how Uranus is joining that party. And will do more so over time. It's quite the time we're in. So I will get this out to you. Then I will also create a written post for Substack from the video if you like to read the writing part of the written ones, and I will break it down into days. So love you.